All right, now that we have our archive for our post type built out, it's time to turn our attention to how single post types are going to work. So what we have here is the ability to create a single -portfolio.php file in our case, and that will automatically load the correct template. It will pull in this template whenever we're viewing a single post. Now, by default, if that's not there, it's going to fall back to using single.php, which you'll remember controls single blog posts. If that's not there, it'll fall back to singular.php and then index ultimately. So this raises the question again, when do you really need a singular.php template? So if you have a custom post type, it will fall back to single. If that's not there, it'll fall back to singular. But if you have a single custom post type and a single.php for your posts and then a page.php, that singular.php isn't really catching anything. So it may not necessarily be there, but depending on your configuration, you may have singular.php run everything for you, or you may have certain things fall back to it or not. But just want to point out that because of this fallback architecture, if you have a higher level template like single post type, you may not need some of the lower level ones if they're not serving a specific purpose. So just to talk about that, now let's jump into the code and look at how we could build this out, starting with our single.php template as a basis. So what we're going to do is come down into our single.php file, open this up, and we could just do a quick file save as, and save this as single portfolio.php. Okay, we'll update the template name so we know where we are, and now we can go from here. The one thing that I will point out is that we don't want this template part pulling in the same one for posts, and we could potentially create another template part, but in this case, I'm gonna show a demo of just throwing in the actual code that we need into this template, since we probably aren't going to need to duplicate throwing in a single portfolio view except here. So it makes sense that it could live here and doesn't need to be used elsewhere. So let's just grab our portfolio include that we had before for looping through them, and let's paste that in here inside of our loop. So we'll go ahead and remove that. And I'm actually going to close out this loop. Remember how I said that if we have a 404 page setup, we don't potentially need this other else statement in our loop. So just to show you different options here, I'm going to show you off what that looks like. So we have that set up. Now, a lot of this is pretty much the same. We don't need to change, but there are a few things. So we could remove the H2 with the link. We could turn it into just an H1 if we wanted. So that makes more sense. We will probably want to still do the post thumbnail. Let's throw it down here. Actually, this shouldn't maybe be in the header in this case. Maybe we put it down in the content. And then instead of the excerpt, we could show the content. Now, because we were working with custom fields, we have the ability to add in a custom field value as well. So let me just show you that. Depending on how you set up custom fields or what plugins you use, etc., this may look a little bit different. But in the case of advanced custom fields, we would say underscore the field, and we want our URL field. So that will create a link, and we could just say, actually, we should put this inside of an escape HTML echo. And we could say here, visit the site, which will be basically the project and WP hierarchy. So we'll break this into some more lines for clarity. Again, what we have here is just a custom field that we're spitting out to get to the URL of the site for the project. We're hard coding in. We're not making this the dynamic title like visit the whatever. You could do that, so it would change. And I'm adding a class of button for just some styling reasons. And you could even have this open on another page or do something like that. But let's just go ahead and check this out as is. But you know what? I'm going to remove this sidebar as well, because unless we want to set up a custom one, it wouldn't make sense to have that displaying the default blog post sidebar on your portfolio. It may or may not. Again, just demoing different possibilities here, and I'm adding the extended class to make it full width. So let's go ahead back to our site now and click into one of the portfolio pages and see what we have. Okay, so back on our site here, I'm going to click into template tags, and we could see, cool, we've got a nice button there. We've got the title of it. We've got the picture of it. Oh, that is still wrapped in a link, which is kind of okay. And then the main content. So this is going to work for all of our portfolio templates now, and we could take this one step further. So in the next video, I'll show you how we could take this even further with adding a slug, and it's a pattern that we've seen before. But at this point, you should now go back and practice what we already did in this video, creating a single portfolio.php template, adding in the correct stuff there to have it all work and synced up. And then also in your own project, build out that section if you haven't tried to tackle it already. Okay, in the next lesson, I'll show you a quick thing on how you could extend this a little bit further.